Hi, ich bin Marco von
Hi,
iDoc.
I'm Marco from
Wenn dir
iDoc.
dein Handy
If you dropped your
runtergefallen
phone
und
and
das
the
Display
display is
gesprungen ist,
broken,
zeigen
this
wir dir,
video shows you how to replace the display by yourself. We recommend to always replace the display as a complete unit with frame. This costs hardly more and it makes the repair easier and safer. The repair is a bit more difficult because the back cover is strongly glued. You need about 60 to 90 minutes. For the repair, we recommend the following tools. You'll find the spare part in our store as well as high-quality tools in our repair kit along with the handy magnetic mat. The links can be found in the info box below. On iDoc.eu you will also find these repair guide with detailed photos and descriptions for each step. And now have fun with the repair. Switch off the device first to avoid short circuits during repair. If the screen stops working, it's no big deal. The device will turn off immediately if you disconnect the battery in a few steps. The mobile phone is opened via the heavily glued back cover. But beware, after a repair, the phone is generally no longer waterproof. You can loosen it by heating the glue and sliding a flat tool between the back cover and the frame. Tools like the iPlastics or the iFlex are ideal for opening the phone. The iFlex is extremely flexible, has rounded edges, and is very thin yet stable. Take a hot air gun or an ordinary hairdryer and gradually heat up the entire edge of the back cover. Don't overheat the phone, just warm it up to the point where you can still touch it easily. The back cover of our device was already damaged. Nevertheless, we tried to leave the back cover as intact as possible. There's a small gap between the frame and display where you can insert your tool. Do not push the tool too far into the device and make sure that the edges of the tool do not scratch the back cover. Therefore, we recommend that you continue with a plastic tool as soon as possible. Be especially careful as the back cover is made of glass and can break easily. Then slide it along the entire frame and gradually loosen the glue. To prevent the adhesive from sticking again, you can use several picks and insert them into the already detached section. Then warm up again the spot where you continue to work and move your tool further along the edge. If necessary, start several times and warm up again and again in between. Beware, our back cover was already broken. It can take half an hour to remove the back cover. Better take a little more time and work carefully to prevent any damage. At the level of the volume buttons, the connection cable of the fingerprint sensor is located directly under the back cover. You should only insert your tool there about half a centimeter. On the lower side, the back cover is glued very strongly. If the back cover is detached everywhere, lift it only slightly. The fingerprint sensor beneath the camera is still connected with a cable. Separate the connector with a spudger. You can see the glue on the edge. Above the USB port, the back cover is glued very strongly. Now remove the back cover and put it aside. Then remove all Phillips screws from the plastic cover and put them aside together. If some screws do not come loose immediately, you can use a pair of tweezers. The cover protects the main board and contains the coils for contactless charging. The cover is lightly glued to the side of the frame. Remove the glue and take out the cover. Now the battery connector is exposed. To avoid short circuits during repair, always disconnect the battery first. The battery is heavily glued, so you should use hot air again to loosen the glue. However, never heat the battery directly, but always from the display side. We recommend using a flat tool, such as the iPlastics, to get under the battery on all sides and to carefully lever it out. If you can't get under the battery like this, you can use a more stable tool. The wide battery spudger is shaped to lift the battery by gently levering it. Again, take a little more time and warm up the glue repeatedly. Don't bend the battery and don't use any tools to stab or damage the battery. Also be careful not to damage any surrounding components. When the adhesive is loosened, lift the battery and remove it from the device. As you can see, the battery is only glued at the outer edges and not in the middle. In the next step, remove the speaker. First, loosen the Phillips screws. Then lift the speaker and remove it. It is slightly hooked to the bottom of the frame. Now disconnect the connector of the front camera with a spudger. If possible, always lever from a side where there are no components on the circuit board. Then take the camera out of its socket. Also disconnect the sensor and carefully remove it. Now remove the SIM holder. The best way is to use a SIM tool or a paper clip. Then pull out the SIM holder. Now disconnect the different connectors from the main board. Take care not to damage any components on the board. Lever carefully and then bend the contacts slightly to the side. Now loosen the screws that secure the main board. Before you remove the board, make sure that all connectors are bent to the side and do not get stuck. Then put the board aside. Now detach the glued sensor cable. The cable is hooked in at the top. Lift it slightly and loosen the copper adhesive strip. Now loosen the glued earpiece with a flat tool. You may also already have an earpiece built into your spare part. Then you don't have to take it over. Next, remove the two screws that fix the USB connector. Heat the part and then carefully loosen the thin glued flex cable of the microphone. Now you can lever out the USB connector a little and then remove it completely. Heat the flex cable of the headphone jack and remove the single screw. Then drive a flat tool under the flex cable to loosen it. Lever up the headphone jack a little and then remove it from the case. The vibration motor is glued. Take hot air again to loosen it. With a flat tool like the steel spatula, you can then carefully lever out the motor. Do not lever on the golden contacts as these can easily be bent. The right spare part and tools for this repair can be found in our online shop at iDoc.eu. Now take the new display and compare it with the old one. If necessary, you'll have to take over some gaskets or covers. Our original Samsung spare part comes with everything. Remove all foils that protect, for example, the different openings for the camera and the sensors. Then insert the vibration motor in its place and press it into position. Place the headphone jack in place at the bottom of the case. Press the jack firmly and make sure it clicks slightly into place. Glue the flex cable and then fix the socket with the appropriate screw. Reinsert the USB connector. Make sure that the whole component is flush with the housing. Reattach the flex cable and the small microphone. Then reattach the screws. If your spare has no earpiece, you must insert it now. Make sure it is correctly positioned and press it down firmly. Now insert the sensors and press them on. Also reapply the copper strip. Bend the flex cables a little to the side and then place the main board into the device. Make sure you don't pinch any cables under the board. If the motherboard is aligned properly, you can reconnect all connectors. Position the connectors over their sockets and press them down carefully. The connectors should engage directly. If they don't fit properly, loosen them again and reposition them. Never push the connectors tight with force. Now reinsert the SIM holder. If it gets stuck, don't push it in with force, but check if the main board doesn't fit properly. Place the sensor in its place and attach the connector to the main board. Also insert the front camera and connect the connector. Then put the speaker back on top of the USB board, press it tight and fasten it. Make sure it is hooked in at the bottom. Now reinsert the battery. But first check the adhesive residue on the bottom side. Make sure that the adhesive does not wrinkle, otherwise it could push the battery to the top. If necessary, remove the adhesive in these areas and then place the battery in its place. Make sure it has some space on all sides and doesn't press against the frame. Now reconnect the battery. Position the contact over its connector and press it down carefully. Then put on the plastic cover with the charging coil in place, hook it in at the top and press it tight all around. Make sure that it is hooked in everywhere and does not stick out. Then fasten all screws again. Before placing the back cover on the case, check the adhesive. It should be evenly distributed on the edge so that the back cover is flush all over. Remove excess glue if necessary. If you want, you can also remove the old adhesive and use a new adhesive frame. We have linked it in the info box below. Before you push the back cover back onto the case, connect the fingerprint sensor to the connector. Use a plastic tool to reach the connector. Test your phone first before you glue the back cover back on. Turn on the device and open the dialing box. Here you enter asterisks, #0, asterisks, # and the test menu opens. Here in the video you can see another phone, but all Samsung smartphones have the same test menu. In the test menu you can test the display for pixel errors and check the touch screen. You can also check all other functions such as the camera, speaker, or status LED. If everything's fine, you can finally close your phone. Heat the rear glass again with hot air so that the adhesive bonds again. Please note that the smartphone is no longer fully protected against liquids after repair. As long as the glue cools down, you can press the back glass down with your fingers or lightly weigh it down.
Die Reparatur ist jetzt
The
abgeschlossen.
repair is now finished and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, suggestions or hints, please write it in the comments below. We will be happy to help you. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.
Bis zum nächsten Mal.